a gasworks park over in Seattle. And so I'm just trying to do my own due diligence with feeding, nurturing my inner spirit with practicing my craft. But, one of the things that I enjoy doing is rhyming and educating the government grubbers about what they're doing. Because they run their game. Okay, if you're going to run your game, I get the same liberties you guys partake. So one of their famous gaslighting techniques is to project their voice like this so their target can hear them as they pitch their scripted narratives, their scripts. That's your gaslighting. That's your psychotic street theater. That's your Nazi-ass Hitler shit. Okay, so you know what? I respect that. That's your right to gaslight because, it's not against the law. But as an ethical-minded person, it's a goddamn mortal sin. I mean, but who really cares about the Ten Commandments or anything? Because your government grubbers, they're like, what 10 Commandments? And then for the ones that don't know about the child molestation, that would be appalled by it, somebody needs to tell them so they can do something about it. I do that. But you know what? It's so funny because the double standard is they can run their game, but God forbid your targeted individual runs the same game my own way. At any rate, I was doing some rhyming, and these assholes are always videotaping me. I'm just all like, okay, I really feel like a fucking fish in the goddamn barrel now because they parasite on me and, videotape me because they're getting the government grift card to defame me somehow. But then all they're doing is mounting an evidence pile. It's probably like that tall now, of complaints on Little Flower, so they can file it with the courts. Now what they've done is just show their maniacal government grubbing because everybody's just grubbing and throwing in fucking so many complaints on me that whenever you do it, you just incriminate yourself by showing up to do it. I'm like, okay, hello? So, but whenever they do the video recording, they fucking get money for that. I'm all like, okay, so they get a double dong for their book because they get to gaslight the public by recording me, taking what I say out of context because they're goddamn pathological government grubbers who don't have any ethics and morals and are comfortable breaking bread in Sodom and Gomorrah with their cohorts, the fucking child molesters. That is your organization. And if you don't know, I saved your life. And if you're comfortable with that, you gotta know something. Everybody can see you, government grub. And the ones that government grub, they're the fucking child molesting organization. I mean, because when you think government grubbing, you gotta know satanic practices. And what's the cornerstone of the satanic practices? Child sex practices and satanic worshiping. I mean, it's a goddamn trifecta, baby. So when you see game being run out in the world, now you're educated about where the fucking funds come from. So, you know what? Smarten up, people, and put a stop to it. Teach them if they don't know. But if they do know and still take on the government grubbing, knowing that children are child sex trafficked into it and murdered, then give them hell. Because, you know what? Who's going to stand up for doing what is right if you just be permissive about it? Anyways, that's all. Thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. This is what I think today is August 5th. And nobody in the judicial system has seen it fit to restore my liberties, to restore my, rights, and to unite me with all of the treachery that's been going on behind my back. I mean, with somebody from the judicial system ethical enough to break me free out of this fucking cage of Auschwitz? I mean, come on now. Doesn't the judicial system know its own history of the goddamn gang stalking? Because if you don't, it's like saying, fuck you to the community. We really didn't care. We were just here for the government grubbing ourselves at the cost of you. That's what it says. I mean, because if you have a sense of discernment, a sense of critical thinking, a sense of independence, you can do the thought work and figure it out, and see where you come up with it and do the research. I laid it all out. Bitches, I figured out this shit. I unlocked it. I decoded it. And all I have to do is just share it. And then you guys get the benefit if you decide to pick up your own accountability with educating yourself. But, the important thing to take away from this is when you see these whores dressed up in the whore clothes, dressed up in their templates and their whore fucking cars, they're murderers. Those are your child molesters. And not to mention your organ traffickers. Those are your connections. So if you want to get in on the trifecta of the gang stalking, government grubbing shit, now you know who to look for. But when you see them, you have to understand they are accountable for these children being trafficked and molested. They have the inside information, bitches. And if a child is born disadvantaged without somebody to govern them, those are the ones they pick off. And if a targeted individual doesn't have family anymore, that could be in a position of power to help them, they pick them off, as evidenced by me. Everything I've been documenting is because they thought they could pick me off because I'm a loner. I don't like to get, messed up with all the gossipers. Because why? Fake as fuck. But then the government found a way to make an infrastructure of militia based on gossip. It's the Nazi way. It's the goddamn Auschwitz way, honey. Your fucking gang stalking godfather is Dr. Joseph Mengele, known as the Angel Black Death. So, okay, this is very pre-K. Very pre-K. We can get everybody caught up to pre-K if we make it our business to shut the shit down when you see it. You don't have to be rude about it. Just let them know. Send them to my YouTube channel, okay, whatever. Make your YouTube channel. Get the word out. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the continuation of the cesspool and the indoctrination of the kids that are roped into it. What they're taught is how to be psycho on the down low, to get their way in life, and then to sell out their integrity for a little something, so they can government grub as a family, as a lineage. Because the ones that are grubbing, they got it from their families and their families through Project Paperclip. At any rate, I get so sidebarred when I see all this game because I'm passionate about the teaching and about doing my best to do what I can. Anyways, thank you for listening. I have to document it because, they're psychos. They run their psychotic street theater, which is nothing more than a bag of lies. They pitch that. They bear false witness. That's against the 10 Commandments, if you don't know. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not murder. Oh, they break that one. And thou shalt not bear false witness. And the whole crux is based on the bearing of false witness. So it's a fancy way to say, hey, I lied on somebody and said they did something they didn't do. That's bearing false witness. It's a 10 Commandment, thou shalt not break. And guess who's all over that? The government grubbers. Yeah, it's so true. They don't care about the ethics. And in fact, they found a way, to hoe out their integrity for a little something. They grovel for the government grifting. That is the society running the streets and running the cesspool with the child trafficking. the human trafficking. Oh, and not to mention the fentanyl. Whatever bias you want, throw it in the fucking cesspool. And guess what? Swept under the carpet. That's why they don't want to give up the gang stalking. They want to keep doing the gaslighting. Because that's demonic. I mean, okay, they're probably all lizards anyway. Operating out of the reptilian portion of the brain so they no longer have an empathy gene left. Not even for their own kid. I mean, some of them actually breed children to fucking satanically sacrifice. Hashtag true story. Because what you're looking at lineages established within the intravascular system throughout our country. So it's been there for a while. They've all been hiding for a while. That means there's a lot of death already. So when you look at these government grifting running their fucking game, you have to ask yourself, how many people have they already murdered? How many people have they already molested and destroyed lives and then killed? And then, oh my God, I mean, the list goes on and on. So if you want to know who your child molesters are that are not going to be on any sex offender registry, because, that's the benefit of, your government participating from Project Paperclip. They were born into that, bitches. That is their lineage. And if that's their lineage, could you imagine the atrocities they were born into and then propagate without shame or empathy? It's not your fault if you were broken. I get that. But what is your accountability for correction? That's the virtue we're looking for. At any rate, all we need is some education. But yeah, I have to document because they go crazy with the goddamn gaslighting. And then the fucking cops, they show up to gaslight you. Because when you ask what is your subjective, objective protocol for gang stalking, they're like, well, it's gang stalking. I'm like, oh my God. You have no shame. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to argue with psycho because gaslighting is psycho, honey. That's what qualifies it for being psycho. Because what a straight shooter is, if I tell you something, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I'm not telling you something with hiding another something in the background because that's what makes it duplicit. That's what gives it, the two-face. And that's what gives it the psychosis. So, be very mindful of these people in your society. Because those are the ones shitting on everything that your forefathers died for. They don't care about that. Hashtag true story. I tried teaching them. They just keep gaslighting me and insulting and laughing at me. I know. How about that? Because I'm not a cookie cutter? Whatever. But anyways, thank you guys for listening. I know I got a lot of video clips going on here because it's really weird to see some girl fucking rhyme. Especially when she's rhyming about shit that you're doing. That's why they're so ready to call the cops. And the cops will show up and go be like, oh my God, what's gaslighting? Oh, it's gang stalking. I have to get that off my chest. Because nobody's come to restore Little Flowers anything. And so, ladies and gentlemen of America, the world, I am your template. This is what happens when you're a nobody, when you're a perceived nobody, who can be in a position of authority to pluck you out of the frying pan, preserve life, and your sanity. So you don't commit suicide because it's a constant onslaught of psychological terrorism. It's Nazi terrorism, bitches. I mean, okay, I've highlighted the molestation organization enablers. In the game they run, that is your Nazi terrorists, hon. The Nazi trained terrorists. It's a citizen against citizen. They did this in Russia. Look up KGB. And if you want to really dive into the beast of gang stalking, look up Stasi. Stasi. That is your German police. That that's how they handle things like that there. But I don't know if they had incorporated the satanic practices into it. But over here, the whole point of the gang stalking was the smoke and mirror, sleight of hand. The gang stalking doesn't exist because they were hiding the real trifecta. Anyways, that is my talk for right now. I'm like, okay, I gotta CYA because these guys get away with their fucking gang stalking bullshit with their lying and pathology. I gotta get up online because that's how I protect myself. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I love you. Thank you everybody for supporting me with your time, attention, and advice and donations. You guys are my lifeline. Thank you.